I remember one day I might have been 7 or 8 years old. Yeah, definitely 7 or 8 years old. And I was sick, just like how I am now. Not totally fluish or anything, just a little bit of a sinus issue, which is what I'm experiencing right now. I don't know if you can hear. Don't you hate it when people do that? Oh my word, it drives me insane. Anyways, um, so it was a summer. It was a summery time. I think it was. It was maybe school holidays. No, it wasn't. I was actually home and I was sick. Right, and then my cousin comes over. She lived nearby, and she came to just pop in by my mother. And then her plan was to go to the pool after that, and there was a pool nearby as well. This was like kind of a gated community area type of thing. And she's going to the pool. Then I'm like, can I also go to the pool? And then my mother said, no, you're sick. You're gonna stay at home. And I was obviously at the time a very very naughty child. I would constantly test the boundaries of grown-ups to the point where they explode, they get upset, and then I laugh, you know. And then I was like, please let me go. Then they're like, no, you're sick, you can't go to the swimming pool. And then I was like, okay, can I go, but I won't swim. And of course I had every intention to go and swim. Nobody tells me what to do, or so I thought. And then they were like, okay, fine, if you promise not to swim, you can go with to the pool. I'm like, fantastic. So then I go, and then obviously my cousin, she's obviously a child, an older child than me, but a child nonetheless. And I knew that, and I was like, okay, she's not a grown up. I can see what I can get away with here. And so I tried to get into the pool, and then she's like, "What are you doing? You're sick." And I'm like, "No, no, no. I'm just gonna put my feet in, just my feet, just my feet." And she's like, "Oh, okay, it's fine, you know." And then I put like the rest of my body in. Oops, I fell. I'm like, oh, I fell, and then for the next hour or so, I was basically just swimming around in the pool. But obviously full kit, and I was real clever at the time, or so I thought. And I told my mom, or in my head, I was gonna be like, I'll just tell my mom that I fell into the pool just before we left, and I luckily swam myself out, and no issue. I'm alive. I'm well. That was the that was the plan. And then as soon as I got home, I was ready for that story. I was ready to say, Mommy, I fell into the pool, but I'm okay. No worries about me. That was my plan. And as soon as I get home, my mother did not even give me a chance to lie. She just grabbed my hands and she smacked me on the bum. She gave me the hiding of a lifetime. And that was excellent. If I think about it now, I think after that I was probably the most well-behaved child ever. You have those once in a lifetime beatings that just change you as a person. After that I was that child. Mother, can I please set the table for us as soon as supper is done? That's the kind of child I was after that. So yeah, cheers to life-changing beatings. Let's start the show. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I really want to say thank you to everybody who listens. Thank you for your support. I want to do this in this section of the show simply because we are. Not many of you make it to the end, but those of you that make it to the end, I'm really proud of you. Well done. And yeah, please do enjoy the show and listen to it as much as you can. Every part of it that you listen to, every minute, every second you listen really helps me and helps the show to grow. So thank you for your support, and thank you for commenting, and thank you for your suggestions and your encouragements. It means the world to me, and trust me, I will not stop doing this. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. It helps as well. Subscribers and viewing hours are what I need in order to eventually monetize the channel, which is the goal here, is just to get to that point. It wasn't the intention. I'm not doing this for the money, but it's nice to have that goal in mind for channel growth, um, so if you haven't already subscribed, please do follow us on Spotify as well. Every little bit helps. It's fantastic, the support that I've received, and I just encourage you, please just support us a little bit more, so that the channel can grow and develop. And with that said, those of you who are listening on Spotify, you can hear very clearly my voice is obviously being picked up by a higher quality piece of equipment, and that's fantastic news, everybody. The show is developing even more now. We've upgraded our audio equipment a little bit, and soon we'll have a video upgrade as well, where we can maybe have multiple camera angles as well. So that'll be fun to play around with. But for now, yeah, we've upgraded the audio a little bit, and that's the channel growing. And with a new setup, I figured, okay, we can maybe structure the show a little bit differently. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to perform musical performances will still be a part of the show. And what I'll do is I'll do like a more complete musical cover of music. I'll do more covers, and those will be separate videos, but I'll also insert them into the show. This episode, though, I won't be doing that simply because of time. Today is Monday, the 29th of April. But it being Monday, I would like to post the episode today, and then the music will be shortly to follow. But in future episodes, I'd like to insert the musical portion into the episode, be it at the beginning or somewhere in the middle, or maybe even towards the end, just to keep you excited and keep you waiting. So that's quite exciting. I'm very happy with the development of this show. I was able to acquire this equipment that I'm super excited about, because now I'm able to do a lot more things. So the vision that I had for this channel is exactly this, and it feels so good to have that vision grow even further. The main thing was to aim to getting some audio equipment, and finally I have that, so I'm really happy about that. And then to take it a step further, the channel was supposed to be musical in nature as well. And what's funny is the music part was supposed to be the major part of the channel, whereas the podcast was going to be the minor part of the channel. So I'm quite amazed that it turned out the other way around. The music part will be a part of the channel, but it'll fall in the minor role. And the major part of it will be this, because I mean, this is what everybody subscribed for. Yeah, so that's just a bit of an update, and also things to look forward to in terms of the channel. I'm quite excited about it. It's excuse me. As you can hear, I'm not doing so well, but I'm not letting it stop me. I'm not that sick. It's literally just a sinus infection. It's not an upper respiratory infection. I don't understand the difference, to be honest, but I know I'm not coughing or I don't have a sore throat or anything like that. It's literally just that my nose is blocked and runny. I'm a bit congested. It feels like somebody, like somebody just the Lord just punching you there in the forehead. Boof, just right there in the forehead, and you're feeling this soreness, this pain, this tenderness almost, even though that never happened. It was maybe just the Holy Spirit saying, boom, you get sick this week. But you know what I think happened, and everybody seems to be disagreeing. It's the same people that say, no, you are sick. Well, I'm not sick. I'm just a bit of a sinus issue. And I think it came about when it was my turn to cook on Friday. And my father suggested that I braai. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll braai. And then I made the fire, and I think the smoke while I was braaiing and while the fire was developing, the smoke, inhalation obviously caused some inflammation in my nose or whatever that is, and now it's like this. But fortunately, I have medication, and I've been taking it. I've been resting, so I've been quite disciplined, because that's what you're supposed to do. Although my definition of resting and other people's definition of resting is totally different. Um, like my girlfriend, for example, She's very big on rest, especially when it comes to being sick. Even though she's someone that will, never go to the doctor, which is ironic to say the least. But anyways, so she says that resting is you have to be in bed all day, not doing anything. I'm like, My idea of rest is getting 8 hours of sleep and then just taking it easy with everything else that you're doing. So when I'm practicing the piano, which I do later every day, I make sure I practice the piano, um, because I'm a disciplined musician. I'm trying to be, and yeah. So every time I or rather practicing, I'll just take it easy with practice. I won't go too hard on practicing fast passages and really working too hard on fixing my technique or anything like that. Yeah, that's my definition of taking it easy. Instead of exercise, I don't exercise when I'm sick because you're supposed to be resting. A lot of people do exercise. I just think that's counterintuitive. Clearly, your body does need rest because it uses up a lot of energy to fight off infection. So yeah, and that's why when you're at the hospital, they're not like, hey, you need to be on the treadmill right now. They're not gonna do that. They're gonna put you in a bed and say you need to rest. Okay, but luckily I'm not that advanced or whatever. But so yeah, I've been a bit sick. I've been dealing with that since about Friday. But it was really bad on Sunday. Oh my word, yesterday in church, I'm trying to play the organ. It was my turn to play the organ at church. Oops. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this whole setup. So I keep bumping the mic because I'm a very gesture oriented person. A jester of gestures, if you will. Anyways, um, so yeah, so then in church, I was playing the organ, and I feel, when you feel that sneeze coming on, but this is gonna be one of those violent and loud and disruptive sneezes, and it just can't happen because I'm playing the organ. So I'm like, uh, just trying to suppress it. Unfortunately, I did suppress it. As soon as I got done playing the organ, I was like, oh my word, I need to go get some tissue or something. That was the plan. But unfortunately, I realized that I needed to get some tissues at a time where it wasn't possible for me to get off the organ. The orchestra was done playing, which means that there's no breaks in between for me. So normally it's organ, orchestra, organ, orchestra. We take turns to play pieces, just so that there's constantly music before the service. And this time, man, it was brutal. So I only got a chance. So what happened was, play the organ. Fine, it's the time for the opening hymn. Play nice and loud. Let everybody sing. And then, yeah, then that's done. It's the opening prayer. I'm like, okay, this is my shot. But what if the opening... Because with the opening prayer, you never know. Is it long enough? Is it short enough? And normally I can go out of the side door, which is right next to the organ. But the weather, it was a bit overcast and cold, so some people feel that when it's cold, we should shut ourselves in. It's too cold. It's cloudy outside. I should wear jackets like it's snowing. Some people are just out of their minds like that. But anyways, because I enjoy the cool air, But anyways, so now I can't go out of the side door. So that's obviously a longer trip around. I have to go from the front of the church, which is where the organ is, and go all the way to the back of the back door, which is actually where everybody comes in. That's the back. You get out there. You have to go all the way around the church, covering the same distance as you would leaving the church, because the bathroom and the area where the organ is, it's like right next to each other, really. So now I have to walk all the way out, around, and go basically in close proximity to my starting point. And I was like, okay, if the opening prayer is going to be too short, this might not work. Because you never know. Sometimes they pray for everything, and sometimes they pray for, a certain few things or whatever. So then I left the idea of going out that moment. So, but in the meantime, it just feels like, there's a little fairy busy scratching in your nose and saying, woohoo, we're having a party, and then you're just like, and it just feels so intense, and you're snuffing the whole time. And then what happens is, finally, the opening prayer is done, and it was a long opening prayer. So I was like, oh man, I really could have just gone and saved myself, Fine. choir starts singing. I sing in the choir as well. And then it's not going well for me, by the way, because while the choir is singing, while we're singing, my nose is starting to drip. I'm just, just the whole time. And then as that's happening, I'm trying to really just sing my best, because you give your best to the Lord, whatever that may be. And yeah, so oh my word, it was so terrible, and I'm just trying to do my best, but I'm like on the brink of sneezing, and my nose is dripping, and it's itching, and it's so distracting. But anyways, finally we get to finish with the singing of the piece. Immediately, I don't even sit down. Immediately, I walk out of that church. I'm like, I need to go blow my nose, and so I did. And that's the story of me having sinus at church. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit at the back and I'm gonna just try and focus. It was very difficult to focus, because you're so congested and you're so it's so intense that you're really distracted by what you're feeling. So that was quite annoying, and I understand why people don't go to church when they're sick, because while you're there, you're not really getting much of anything, anyways, because you're distracted. But as long as you receive the peace of the risen one, and as long as you receive the sacrament and the word of God, you've gotten what you need. That's what you go for. You don't really. I mean, sure, the sermon was delivered, but as long as you've been given that Bible word, you can go and meditate on that at home. I think that's a proper thing. Um, anyways, so yeah, that was what happened yesterday at church. Goodness, I couldn't wait to leave, and it was just delay after delay. There's just something crazy that happens. I don't know if this happens wherever you go to church, but church is there, divine service, receiving the word of God. Some music takes place now and then. The service ends, you get communion, service ends, great stuff, announcements. Then what happens afterwards is truly how can I say, it's truly a fascinating, and yet sometimes, based on yesterday's experience, just totally unnecessary, you know because as you're leaving the church, you have to greet every person, and every person you greet wants to have a conversation. And oftentimes it's enjoyable. I do enjoy having conversations with people a lot of the times, but like yesterday of all days, I was not feeling well, was not in the mood to say anything to anybody. I just wanted to go home. But like every time I approach the car, somebody else calls me, hey, come here, and then you greet that person, you talk to them, and it's just like, oh man. And you don't want to do this terrible thing that people do, where they cut a conversation short and just leave, because that leaves a bad taste in the mouth of the person that you're dealing with. So you want to at least give them a good conversational experience, especially after church. You're feeling so much joy after having received the word of God and the sacrament and the blessing. You feel good about that, and then you just decide, okay, let me just be a little bit social. But now it's like every person you walk past wants to speak to you, and you just go and talk. And yeah, oh my word. But most of the time um, I don't really engage much in that conversation, because um, more often than not, it's normally people who have a lot of negative stuff to say, like a lot of issues that they want to get into or complain about. And I try to avoid people at all costs, like nowadays. I would say over the past few years, let's say after COVID, I would say after lockdown, when everybody started coming back to church, I've noticed I've had this aversion to social interaction after church. It's just because most of it is just mundane stuff. People are talking for the sake of talking, kind of like what I'm doing right now. Nah, but it's like there's no purpose to what they're saying, there's no point to what they're saying. And then when they run out of things to say, they just start complaining. Oh no, this and that. I wish this would happen, and oh, I hate that the wind was blowing, and oh, it was so hot in like, okay, you're distracting me from this joy that I'm trying to preserve, this feeling of peace and fulfillment that I experience from the divine service. I don't want this conversation. So now I avoid conversations at all costs, but sometimes when I'm feeling a bit social, it depends on who you want to speak to, so then you go to those specific people and then you just have a conversation with them, and it's normally pleasant, so I find that quite enjoyable. What I would love to happen, and maybe this can be something we can normalize, for you as the listeners, as the viewers, um, just something to normalize. I would like to get to the point where we can listen to have the divine service, and then we can literally have a nice little experience of um, how can I say, a nice little experience of sharing the word. Like, what was your impression of the divine service? What were thoughts that came up to you while you were listening to the sermon? Because that happens, right? Things come to mind that relates very much to what the service is about, and it's almost like things you can add on to what the minister in front is saying. And those thoughts are really the ones that I'd love to share with people, and to hear what thoughts came up to them. Because, man, that's just reviewing. That's just, what was your experience, what was my experience. I wish we could do that. Like, I wish we could normalize that. Like, after service, let's talk about the service. It's kind of like a post game review, like when you're watching a football match, and then when it's halftime, there's people in the studio. They call them pundits. I don't know what that word means, but that's what they call them. And it's just people that are listening to the watching the show, the game. Sorry, it's very distracting. There's an alarm happening here outside, and I guess it's done. Very distracting. But anyways, so yeah, they're in the studio. They've just watched the game. After the game, they are talking about it. They're criticizing the coach's decisions and criticizing the players' decisions and the performance of the players, or really complimenting them or whatever. But it's like there's a whole session that happens where they just break down the game. They break down the experience of the game, and talking about referee decisions and all that, which is interesting, to an extent. I don't watch the whole thing of that, but anyways, I wish we could do that with the service. Just sharing experiences of the Word of God, like that. I think is that could even be a show. That could be a whole show, actually, just like a Sunday show. Man, I need to remember that. I'm gonna write that down quickly. Oops, sorry. I'm going to write that down quickly, actually. Show idea. A show where divine services are discussed. The message and the experiences in divine service. Yeah, I love that, actually. In divine services. Yeah, that would be grammatically correct. I love that, actually. Oh, that's so okay. Interesting. I think I'd like to speak. I don't know who to speak to, actually. I should speak to some people who engage in those types of discourses. Like there's a lot of people my age that I know, not a lot, but a few my age that I know that also like to talk about the deeper sides of what the divine service is all about. Maybe we can include doing a little bit of research and going behind the word a little bit, and going into the history of it, and maybe discussing historical context in terms of the message that's being that's being uh, um, that's being shared. Oh, I love that idea, actually. Oh man, I'd love to do a show like that, actually. And you know what it can be? Even it can be like instead of being like in person show, it can literally be maybe using Zoom or something, and hearing the different thoughts of the people after a service takes place. I love that. But it has to be the same service though, so yeah, I love that idea. I'm gonna pitch that idea. I think I know who to pitch it to, but more on that later. Anyways, what's been going on in life this past week? Not much. Not much happens in my life, to be honest, and I'd love to change that. I've been thinking a lot about that recently. Is that what I would really love to do is be able to go travel to places and experience different things, experience the different foods and flavors that are made all around South Africa, because South Africa is such a diverse nation, so many different cultures and subcultures, so many different how can I say, just identities and experiences that can be had. And I would love to do that more often, more regularly. At this point in my life, this age in my life, it's the grinding phase. So you kind of just focusing on performance. You are filming a podcast and going to work and performing your duties at church and at work and at home. You're really high performance, and I love that. It's a great feeling, and I'd love to offset that, because it can become strenuous. I'd like to offset that with recreational activities in the form of going places and doing things. But I just haven't gotten around to that much. But yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about that. I would really like to do that. If you have any ideas on how I might be able to recuperate and relax with more variety, that would be nice. If you could just let me know in the comments. That'll be fun to learn how you, or maybe you could share with me how you uh, what do you use to recuperate and recover and rejuvenate and all the what is the other word, reconnaissance. It's not reconnaissance. It's not reconnaissance. But yeah, maybe you could share what you do to be rejuvenated. And yeah, yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you do to relax. Do you go on holiday once a year? Where do you go? If you go, what's your favorite spot to go to? I'd like some recommendations, because maybe I would like to at some point. Hopefully when the show picks up enough, once there's enough support and viewership, I'd love to go places. And then maybe as a gift to the viewers, I could book you in at a place, and you can go somewhere. Maybe I'll look at that at some point as well. But anyways, yeah, so not much has been happening in life, man. Not much has been happening, and I suppose that's a good thing. I suppose that's a good thing. Not in my life personally, but all of our lives are interconnected. And a lot of bad news lately. I would say a lot of bad news lately. Like, I think this past week I've received some great news from people. Two people that I know personally, that are very close to me, that have been unemployed for so long, have employment now. In a country such as ours, where so many are not employed, it's absolutely incredible, and it's exciting. It should be celebrated. Truly, it should be celebrated. If you land a job in this country, this country is one of the highest has one of the highest unemployment rates in the world. And not just that, one of the highest youth unemployment rates in the world. For people in South Africa to land a job, man, it's major. It's major. It's rare, dude. It's rare, and I believe it should be celebrated. So yeah, and I have celebrated actually with those people. So shout out to, who you are, because you are watching. I know that for sure. So yeah, congratulations to landing your job and all that. And what is the other thing? Oh yes, a friend of mine has a baby that was born prematurely, and the baby was quite risky. It was touch and go for a long time, and now finally the baby's out of the danger zone, and the baby's developing perfectly well. And oh man, that's just beautiful to hear. It's exciting news, and more of that, please. Just more good news. Let more good things happen. But then also this past week, it's been some heavy news taking place. Not far from where I stay, someone was stabbed and killed. That's brutal. It's really brutal for someone to end somebody else's life. It's shocking. I don't think that's something that can ever be normalized, or you could get used to. And yeah, it's really brutal. And then also, there was in the news in Bloemfontein as well, a car had crashed into a river, or a little ravine or stream, and the car was stuck there, and there were three occupants of the vehicle, and one of them drowned. As a result of this accident, two of them survived, but it was a pretty brutal crash. So it's like, yo, it's like you. Why can't I just have the good news? Why must the bad news also come? And then there was also a family friend of ours was killed in a car accident last week Friday, and it's like brutal, man. Jeez, like it's just rough how life happens, man. It's like, and but I do think it's important to empathize and to sympathize, because empathy is the reason why when something good happens for somebody, that you get excited, that you get happy for that person. And empathy is also the thing that happens when you feel the when you feel sad when somebody else is going through a sad thing. You feel for them. And I think that we live in a society today, unfortunately, that thrives on bad news, man. And I think it takes advantage of that empathy part of our brains, and it sends it into overload. I think that negative emotions have a higher response in our brains than positive emotions. They do. And it's a curious thing. Did you know that I found this out recently? Did you know that um, this is a very fact-based show, by the way? It isn't. And yeah, but I love sharing facts anyways. Did you know that the closest emotion in terms of brain scans and chemical levels in our brains and all that, the closest, sorry, the closest emotion to happiness, pure joy, is anger. Isn't that crazy? Like nothing lights up your brain like joy that as anger. Oh, I think that was a very poorly constructed sentence. But the only thing that lights up your brain almost as or similar to happiness and joy is anger. So anger, by that logic, anger is almost a positive emotion. I think it's just missing one or two factors. When you compare the two, there's one or two factors that don't match between anger and happiness, which is the discrepancy that we describe anger to be a negative emotion. But, oh, sorry, but anger is so close to it. It's super interesting. But yeah, speaking of facts, I also found this out recently, and I think it's kind of absurd, to be honest. There is a bird, what is it? The peregrine falcon, right? And what this bird does is it flies up to its prey and knocks it out, dude. Like poop, like just a nice sucker punch. And what it does, it flies really high up and it swoops down, and it knocks you out and it flies past again. That would be, and it's so small. It's this little hole. What is it? A falcon? Yeah, little falcon. And it's kind of like, imagine if I run up close to you and then boof, just sucker punch you, and then I run off again, and then I come back and I eat you, because that's exactly what this thing does. It knocks out its prey, and then and then feasts on it. That's insane. Nature is this wild thing. I also found this out recently, and this is maybe one of the most profound like facts about nature that I've ever come across. So there are many squirrel-like creatures in the world, okay? And I say squirrel-like because it's not just squirrels, but like these, rodent type of things, or marsupials. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, so they collect nuts and seeds. For example, squirrels in North America, they collect acorns, right? And what they do is they eat them, but you can't eat a bunch of them at the same time. So what they do is they find one, they bury it for safekeeping, right? And they have various places where they bury the stuff. But and even there's these types of squirrels in Brazil, in the Amazon rainforest, and the Brazil nut tree, right, which is a huge tree, and it produces this really big nut, and it's quite a delicious snack if you're into that sort of thing. But anyways, so it collects the nut and it hides it. And do you know what happens? It forgets 90% of the places that it buried the nuts or the acorns. It completely forgot where it is. And that is how forests grow. You know, that's really one of the most profound things ever. Like it just man, if that isn't indicative of a designer, a grand designer, a grand creator, then I don't know what is, because that it's like that's all nature. Animals act on instinct. They don't act by conscious thinking. They're not like us. Human beings are conscious animals. But like the rest of the animal kingdom, they all act on instinct. So for this to be built into them, and for it to be built in that they forget to plant these things, and that's how forests grow. Man, that's a design feature. To me, that sounds like a design feature, man. And it's not one that any person can conceive of. And that's why I say, nah, there's 100% creator out there who's deciding these sort of things, man. Anyways, and I'm talking about God. I'm talking about God. I'm talking about, you know there's nothing faster than light. The speed of light is the cosmic speed limit. you know and thus there's nothing faster. We take it as fact because, okay, we know it now, okay, fine, but it's actually really profound. Not just that, we're taking now this whole thing about light, and we realize that God spoke it into existence. Come on, man. Come on. Isn't that that just blows my mind. Anyways, if it doesn't blow your mind, then you're probably brain dead. Another thing that blows my mind is flat earthers, dude. Like, I don't know if you've ever met one of these special cases. I cannot believe that there are people who believe the earth is flat. And I've spoken to some of them, and they have all these outlandish theories, and I just find it ridiculous, man. Oh my word. Like, there's so many issues wrong with this, right? For example, if the earth is flat, dude, then why is there a horizon? And why does the horizon have a curvature, first of all? Second of all, why do lunar eclipses have the spherical shape on it, right? So let's say the moon was also like a disc, and the earth is also a disc. Why isn't it that there's the moon and there's the earth? Why isn't the shadow like that? Why does the shadow cover the moon completely when there's an eclipse? Or even with the different phases of the moon, because we all know that the phases of the moon depends on the angle that the sun is relative to the earth as well. So wherever the earth is positioned between the moon and the sun, that is the phases of the moon, dude. So explain that. Why does it look like that? Another thing is, if it so are you telling me that if you look far enough, you would be able to see, oh, there's the pyramids of Giza. Oh, look, there's the Statue of Liberty. Oh, look, there's the Eiffel Tower. Like, come on, man. Are you serious? And you know what the argument is actually? They say, if the earth was round, they're like, where did you hear about the earth being round? And you're like, no, you read it in textbooks, you can see it on TV, then they're like, no, that's all hearsay. And I'm like, that's not hearsay, that's photographic evidence. What is the evidence that the earth is flat? There's no evidence for that. Then they're like, then you might say, but what about Australia? You tell the flat earthers, what about Australia? Then they're like, no, Australia doesn't exist. Isn't that convenient? Wow. You twist the facts to suit the theory instead of adjusting the theory to suit the facts. That's mighty convenient. And I find that to be quite insane that people do that, But anyways, wow, we are actually making a huge amount of time up here. have I really been talking that long? That's quite insane, actually. Come I see here. Wow, I'm actually blown away. Anyways, I wanted to share a few facts with you. Just some facts that I found interesting. The first one is wearing a tie can reduce blood flow to the brain by 7.5%. So you could, and that's a lot. That's a lot. Blood flow to the brain is important, and if that's cut off even by 1%, dude, you start feeling funny, you know. But I wonder how tightly do you have to? Because I love wearing ties, you know, but I never have them too tight. And I think it also depends on the shirt. Like you shouldn't, you should be able to, put a little bit of a space in there. It shouldn't be too constricted, you know. But maybe that's why so many people who wear suits can really act out, act a bit crazy. You always hear about eccentric lawyers and eccentric investment bankers and all that kind of things. Maybe they should just, change the attire a little bit. But speaking of like a suit and tie, like that's probably my favorite attire, you know, because I don't know why, and it's so timeless. People have been wearing suits and ties for centuries, but the modern look is so, it's so fresh still. It's so I want to say almost beautiful. When someone wears a suit and tie, first of all, you take it seriously. You take that person seriously, which is incredible. Why would it be that the person wearing a suit and tie is a person you take seriously? Is that just cultural? Is that something built into us? I wonder about those things, man. Because it's like, if I wore a golf shirt and chinos, for example, or even a golf shirt and trousers, you wouldn't take me as seriously as the guy that's wearing a, like, formal suit and tie, you know? But I love it as well because it looks good, like, if anybody, it doesn't matter what your body shape is or how you look, but if you are wearing a well fitted suit, you look good. That's incredible. You can be, you can look like the main customer of McDonald's International. You could look like Virgin Active's number one visitor. You could look like one of God's favorites. Like a flat earther. And if you wear, one of God's special children, and if you wear a suit, then you look good. That's fascinating. I don't know why visually that appeals to us. Aesthetics is a fascinating school of philosophy that I'd love to get into at some point, but I don't know if there's enough time on the earth to explore all my interests, to be honest. Like, I'm interested in so many things that I fear that by the time my life ends, even if my life ends when I'm 100 or 99 or whatever, wouldn't that be an unresolved feeling when you die at 99 and you had like a few months to go until 100? Oh my word, that would like, I don't think I would be able to rest in peace at all. I don't know, maybe that's a bit OCD of me, but imagine you're 99 and 11 months, boom, and you're dead. Oh man, you couldn't wait 1 month, dude. 1 month. Anyways, let me not obsess too much over that. But anyways, yeah, wearing a suit is just fantastic, man. And I think the older I get, the more I will wear suits. I mean, wearing a t-shirt and a jean is fine. It's a bit informal. But I'd love for this show to become, something where even if we're acting stupid and informal, we can still wear suits and feel responsible and feel grown up. Because to be honest, a jeans and a t-shirt is really how a child dresses. You want to dress like a grown up, and that's suit and tie, all the way. That's just how I feel. If you don't agree, I don't care. Anyways, the next fact is being bored is actually a high arousal state physiologically. So in terms of your body, right, the measurements that they do physically on your body, they say boredom is a high state of arousal, right? And that's because when you're bored, your heart rate increases. Now, I can't help but wonder, right? Part of my drive to do stuff, just to find something to do, something productive, something to keep me busy. I can't help but wonder if part of my drive towards doing something is misunderstood as anxiety when it's actually just boredom. Because when you're bored, okay, you have an elevated heart rate. For me, an elevated heart rate indicates anxiety because for most of my life, whenever I'm anxious, I have a high high heart rate, So couldn't, when I read that, I was like, wow. So what if most of the time when I am, I feel as though I haven't done much or I need to do something, like, it becomes torturous, What if that feeling is just boredom? That's incredible. And I only really get bored by conversations with certain people, Some people you speak to, and that when you're talking to them, it's almost like you're being poisoned. Like, did you poison me, man? Some people are just that boring. You're like, oh, how's it going with you today? Well, not so great. And then you're like, oh, first of all, that's not how you're supposed to approach that question in the slightest. You're supposed to say, I'm good, or I'm fine. And if you're not fine, if you're not good, you say I'm fine. Don't burden people with your problems. It's just unfair to do that. Well, and then you're like, how's it going? They're like, not so good. And then you, obviously being the polite person that you are, that I am, then I'm like, okay, what's up? What happened? What's wrong? It's like, well, my hand got hurt at work the other day. And you're like, oh, okay, your hand seems fine. Yes, it's fine now, but it was sore for 10 minutes after it got hurt. And you're like, oh my goodness, is this a real person talking to me, And you feel you feel funny because you're like, whoa, that's why I feel like, yo, did you poison me? But anyways, maybe you feel like I poisoned you. I don't know if that's even possible, you know. But some people are just like that, man. Oh my goodness. And it's a terrible thing. Like, don't, like, just be polite. When someone says, how are you doing? You say, I'm good, or I'm fine. Don't burden people with your nonsense. It's really, and if you don't have anything going on, then just, end it there. Just nip it in the bud. Don't try and come up with things, man. But also don't, like, how is that an event in your life? Oh my word. Like, oh, I got hurt, and 10 minutes after that, I was no longer hurt. That means it was a minor thing. It wasn't even an injury. Like, oh my word. Some people they just drive me insane. Whew, let me not get worked up about that. But anyways, so boredom is a higher arousal state. Maybe that's why I get, so worked up when I'm bored, or when people are boring. Gee whiz. Like, it actually bothers me, that because I believe that everybody is interesting. There's something interesting about anyone, and if you listen to someone enough, they'll be able to share that interesting part of them with you. And it's just this nice little thing, this connection that you have with that person, and that's how you remember somebody. You remember someone by whatever's interesting about them. If they are just part of the background of the world, you're not gonna remember them in the slightest. Like, you don't remember air. You don't think about air because it's always there. It's in the background. It's always around. You breathe in, you breathe out. It's literally the most important thing for you to live, but you completely forget about it because of its abundance. And yeah, so I think when you're telling someone about you, start with the interesting stuff. Start with the good bits. You want to be able to engage positively with somebody, and by doing that, you have to contribute to the interaction. And so give the goodies, man. What's interesting about you? And I do that all the time on the show. I try and share some interesting stuff about me. But anyways, the last fact that I have here, I've prepared, a few facts. The last one is martial artists who smile before the start of a match are more likely to lose. Yeah. And that one is a bit mind-blowing to me, because you actually see it. Like, I don't often watch UFC or MMA or whatever, but I find it quite interesting that it seems to fit. The guy, like, while, like, when they in the cage, the fight is about to start, and the one guy's smiling, you are literally, it's a form of submission. You are submitting to that person. So psychologically, you've already lost the fight because you're smiling at this person that you're about to engage in some combat with. So it's like, so yeah, if you're a martial artist, don't smile at your opponents. Or if you're someone who likes getting into fights, don't smile at your opponent. Be ready, be performance mode, ready to fight. So I found that quite interesting. And I also wonder, How often don't we give away our power? We submit so easily to people just by smiling, you know. Now obviously smiling has many different functions. Part of the functions of smiling is is to disarm, you know. If somebody has hostile intentions and you smile at them, it might remove those hostile intentions completely, you know. It might make a confrontation with somebody easier, you know, if you're smiling, because now we're both at ease, you know. There's a bit of a positive element to the interaction, and that's the smile, you know. But I think when it comes to competition, when it comes to you know, where you have to win or lose, if it's a win or lose situation, if it's a life or death situation, you should not be smiling, because then you're already admitting defeat, you know, in your own mind, and in the mind you're giving confidence to your opponent. So that's interesting. I've always wanted to learn like some kind of martial art, you know, and I've narrowed it down. Either I want to do boxing or jujitsu, but not both, because I think that's, you know, multidiscipline is not for me a strong suit. I you know, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. But apparently, if you take the full saying that Shakespeare wrote, shout out to Shakespeare, um, what is it? It is better to be a jack of all trades than a master of one, or a master of none, a master of one. Yeah, it's better to be a jack of all trades than a master of one. So yeah, that kind of describes me, to be honest. I'm into so many different things, and it's often difficult to find a balance between, you know, which direction do you progress into, because so at times you have to really decide, you know. So yeah, that's a funny thing about me, actually, is that I've always done this. I've always had a multitude, a what's the word I was actually looking for? I say multitude, a plethora. There we go, a plethora of interests that I pursue. You know, for most people, you're like, yeah, that's interesting, but this is the one, you know. And for me, it just isn't that simple. You know, I love literature, I love books, I love music, I love, you know, even when it comes to literature and books, like, it's like I love fiction, but I also love philosophy. I love self-help books, but I also love psychology books. I love history books. It's like, you know, I can't decide. I read what I want to read, that's all, you know. And I do what I want to do, you know. uh, all my interests are fleeting, but it's sort of on a rotation, like it always comes back. There's never an interest that I've had that has never come around again. It's like I'm all over the place, you know. And that's, you know, the idea of the show is that we are all over the place, because we've literally covered a plethora, I'm gonna keep using that word, a plethora of topics, and without a central theme, to be honest. And that's just how it goes. Let me just see, are we good on time so far, entering the end game. I'm using the term end game because I've learned to play chess recently. I downloaded chess.com. I've just been learning to play it, you know. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, so it's fun, but it's nice to be able to learn from your mistakes, and that's what the app provides you. I don't need to promote the app. That's like the number one chess app. Anyways, book segment time. Okay, so the book I wanna go into today is this one, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This was a bit of a dense read, to be honest, a bit of a thick book. I love thick books though, but it took me a while to get through it. Simply because I like to take in as many details as possible. With this type of thing, it's not like a fictional book that you can read beginning to end. It's not like a necessarily a psychological mindset type of book. It has elements of that, but it's not a psychologically, you know, centered book that you can just read beginning to end and then distill your insights after that. This one took a while. You know, you really have to sit down and even write stuff down, and the book encourages you to do that. You know, but it's important, because that's you know, you have to take it seriously if you're trying to develop habits, right? So yeah, I found it interesting, that it speaks about habits, not not what effective people do, not what successful people do. It's literally the 7 habits of highly effective people. There are more habits, of course, but this one has distilled it into this. So what the author has done is he's interviewed many of the most effective people in the world. How can I say, world leaders, like politicians, and I mean literally, statesmen and stateswomen, just people in charge of countries. It takes some effectiveness to become such a person. High functioning businessmen, women, those just high performing people, even athletes, right? Even high performing athletes. And he's basically taken the common denominators of those people and distilled it into this one work of literature, which is brilliant. Over 40 million copies sold. That's what it says here on this book. But anyways, I just wanted to share with you a few key takeaways to the book. I just prepared a little review here for us. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is a widely acclaimed self-help book that has had a significant impact on personal and professional development since its publication in 1989. And truly, this is still a book that people highly recommend, and even me, I highly recommend this. If you're somebody who struggles to get to all your goals in a day, in a year, if you feel that you can benefit from becoming more of an impactful person in your own life, having more of an impact on your own life and on the lives of those around you in a positive way, of course, then this book is definitely for you. Okay, so I'm just going to cover a few key points. The first key point is a paradigm shift, right? Covey, which is the author, begins by discussing the importance of a paradigm shift, emphasizing that our perceptions and attitudes shape our reality. Of course, that's why everybody's reality is different, because it's based on our perceptions and our attitudes towards those perceptions, right? He introduces the concept of a character ethic versus the personality ethic, highlighting the significance of principles over mere techniques, right? So, for example, you can develop your character in a certain way, but you can never develop your personality in a certain way. You cannot change your personality unless you do hard drugs like LSD or mescaline, or any of those hallucinogenic substances can alter your personality permanently. But what the book is saying here is that the focus should really be on the personality ethic. Personality in the sense that we're focusing on you as a person, you as an individual, who you truly are. Not how you present yourself to be, because sometimes who you are and what you present are not the same thing, and that's incongruence. That's very wrong. You should be able to be in the world as honestly as possible, right? Because that's how you're going to also be effective as a leader, as a follower, as a teammate, as an individual, as a family member, as a brother, as a sister, as a boyfriend, as a girlfriend, as a wife, as a husband, as a father, as a son, as a mother and a daughter, whatever you are many of those things, right? And for you to be effective, the personality ethic is the main one there, right? Is that you have to focus on that. But anyways, so yeah, like I said, it's highlighting the significance of your principles over techniques. So there are many techniques to having good character and to giving people a good impression of who you are. There's many ways you could learn that sort of behavior, but for the most part it could become disingenuous, especially if it doesn't align with your principles. And that's what this book really is all about. It's about your principles, right? Anyways, so here are the 7 habits. Habit number 1 is to be proactive. This encourages taking responsibility for your actions and choices rather than being reactive to external circumstances. So it's not to he's not saying take responsibility in the sense that when you've done something wrong, you have to admit to it. Of course, you have to do that. But what he's saying is that you have to take it in your hands, becoming responsible for your own life, for your own decisions, for your own actions. Because once you do that, then you decide. You are at the wheel now. You decide the direction of life, not becoming a victim of circumstance, right? So to be proactive in the sense of the word proactive also just means like preparing yourself for whatever comes, right? It's impossible to prepare yourself for everything, but come what may, I will make my decisions and I will adapt, right? Instead of being someone who's like, why did you mop the floor in this game's aisle? I can't believe you did this. I'm supposed to walk here. Like you're reacting now. You're no longer being proactive. So that's to be one of the 7 habits of highly effective people. Being highly effective means to be proactive. That's habit number 1. Habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. And this focuses on clarifying, first of all, your personal values. Second of all, your goals, and also creating a vision of what you want to achieve. So, for example, if you don't have a clear vision, there's no way you're going to find a clear path to your goals. Of course not. And even if your path isn't necessarily simple, if you've been able to map out how do I get from this position to my goals, then I make a plan. I set up a strategy. I have obstacles. I have objectives that I need to achieve in order to end up at that goal. And so if you begin with the end in mind, it just means that there's the goal. So start there. What is the goal? Where do I want to end up? Okay, now I move from the front to the back. I move from the back to the front, or rather from there to here. If I do it in reverse, then I'll be able to figure out how to go from here to there. So that's the beauty of it, and it truly works. It truly works. If you are just like, okay, I don't know what the goal is, but I'm going to take this step, and the next I'm going to do this, next I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to end up there. No, I need to end up there. How do I do that? What do I first need to do? Okay, but what do I need to do from there? Okay, you just sort of bounce around between the beginning and the end until you reach the middle. Then your plan is complete, and then boom, you just execute, and then it's done. You've achieved your goal. And that's brilliant. So that's the second habit, is that effective people begin with the end in mind, right? So number 1, they are proactive, and number 2, they begin with the end in mind, meaning just to have a clear vision of where you're going and where you want to be. Habit number 3 is to put first things first, right? So this appeals to our ability to prioritize tasks based on their importance rather than their urgency, right? This chapter also helps or this habit also helps with time management, and it focuses a lot on time management, because a lot of the times we are spending so much time on things that might not be necessarily important, but simply because it's urgent, we prioritize that, and so it introduces that time management quadrant, where if something is urgent and important, you do it first. If it's urgent but not important, you have someone else do it. If it's important but not urgent, you're going to worry about that later. And if it's not urgent or important, then you let it go altogether. You don't need to do it at all, So I love that, because it appeals to many different kinds of roles that we have in our lives. If you're a leader of some sorts, then you know which tasks you can give off. Which tasks you can give off to certain people. Okay, all the tasks that are urgent but not important to my personal goals, I can give to those people. Or even if it's important and urgent, I can give it to someone else, because maybe I need to take care of something else that's urgent, that's even more urgent and important, and then so it offers that sort of thing. So putting first things first really stresses the prioritization of tasks, and the criteria for that is just that what is important, what's not important. If something is urgent, let someone else do it if it's not important. But if it's both urgent and important, you take care of it, like I just said. Okay, anyways, habit number 4, think win-win. Highly effective people like to think of things in terms of win-win, especially when it comes to personal interactions or conflicts or negotiations, right? It's just that how can we both benefit from this, There are many different alternatives to that, right? For example, win-lose. I win, you lose. I'm happy, now you're unhappy because you've lost. And that doesn't work in the long term, right? Eventually, the person that is on a constant losing streak with you can become bitter and resentful, and maybe that person will not want to work with you anymore, And then the other one is lose-win. So if I'm on the losing end and I choose the losing side of things, I'm always saying, oh yeah, whatever, you win, you get what you want, I don't get what I want, that can also build some serious resentment. And resentment is one of those emotions that are very dangerous. Those are It's one of the biggest things you need to look out for is resentment and arrogance. Those are the two emotions that you really need to be, what's the word? I almost said vandalizing, vigilant. You need to be vigilant of. Anyways, so lose win doesn't work. Lose lose doesn't work either, because now neither of us get what we want. The only one that seems to work 100% of the time, because it's the most sustainable over time, and because it's the most effective in terms of our personal and professional interactions, is if we both get what we want. So let's figure that out. Even if it takes a long time, let's figure out how we can both come out of this on top. You know? And I believe that's the most practical way to deal with conflict. Is that let's both get what we want out of this, because we can. And that's going to build this relationship even stronger, whether it's a business relationship or a personal one. I love that. Okay, so that's habit number 4. Habit number 5 of highly effective people is seek first to understand, then to be understood. And this emphasizes empathetic listening and effective communication. So a lot of the times, and I myself am guilty of this, because I'm more of a talker than a listener, as you can tell from this show that I do every week. Let me see just how are we doing on time. We are going over it, but okay, I don't care. It's fine. We carry on. Anyways, so seeking first to understand, right, is being able to listen to somebody's issue, especially when it comes to conflict. Being able to listen to someone's issue so completely that you fully understand what is going on with them, right? Because that'll help you, first of all, to possibly come up with a solution, but secondly, to give them a chance. They feel, okay, they've been heard now. They feel that they are understood. Then you can bring your side, because now they're open to listening. If you're opening to listening first, it means that you will get your chance to be listened to. Because I don't think anyone can listen if they still feel that they have more to say, And I think that's fair. And that also puts you in the position of being the bigger man, or the bigger person in the scenario, because it's going to mean that you are able to take control of the situation by allowing yourself to listen to this person, and not just letting this person talk finished. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about fully engaging in active listening to understand completely what this person's problem is. Even the questions you ask to spur on further elaboration of the problem, just to show, not just to show, but for them to see, okay, this person is truly trying to understand where I'm coming from, right? And once you've done that, then you can share what you think about the situation or your side of things, and now that person is prepared to listen. But if I don't give you a chance to speak, what's the reason you're going to give me a chance to speak? So if you truly want to be effective, and you'll notice most of this is just about people. The first 3 is about goals, about being effective personally. Then the next 3 is really about, or rather, habit 1, 2, and 3, that's about you personally. Then habit 4, 5, and 6 focuses more on people around you, right? So anyways, so we did think win-win, and now seek first to understand, then to be understood. It's perfect, right? Emphasizes listening and effective communication, because you want the interaction to work. That's why you're engaging in discourses, because you want something positive to come from it, right? You need something from that person, or that person needs something from you. And if we're all happy, then we're all happy, isn't it? Anyways, then habit number 6 is synergize. Effective people synergize with each other or with people. And this just means that you encourage collaborative teamwork. We've all had people that are leaders over us, and they tell us to do something, but they don't give us the space to do it. They don't give us the freedom to decide how we want to approach something. A good example is my dad. He and he does this just to irritate us. He doesn't actually mean what he's saying, because he loves annoying people. He gets a real kick out of that, and personally I do as well. Like doing that, I know irritates people, so I'm just gonna do it again. Anyways, so like for example, if you were to do the dishes, and you've been doing dishes your whole life. I've been doing dishes since I can remember. I've been doing the dishes, and Then he's like, you must make sure you wash all the dishes, ne? And I'm like, of course. I you know. And then he's like, oh yes, don't forget to check in the lounge and in the rooms all the dishes to wash. I'm like, I know these things, you know. So what you don't want, especially when you're a leader, is you don't want to put people in a position where they feel as though you don't trust them with a task, you know. And because if you're an effective person in your own right, you become an effective person as a leader as well. You naturally end up as a leader, right? And what happens is that you find yourself delegating tasks, like we're going back to prioritizing, right? The tasks that are unimportant, or rather important but not urgent, you let someone else take care of that, you know. And if you put that on someone, but you're, standing over the shoulder like a hawk constantly, it's not going to work. You are spoiling that relationship, you know. And then it also means that you're able to, if somebody asks you for assistance or guidance, you provide just that. You don't take over, you don't interfere, you just do what they're asking you to do. And that's the beauty of that sort of thing. And then that's how nature works, you know. um, we breathe out carbon dioxide. We also produce a lot of carbon dioxide with our cars and with fires and with, all these types of things. But the trees absorb that, and that's what they use to grow. And they also produce oxygen, which we need to breathe and to burn stuff. Brilliant. That's synergy. So that's truly what it means to be in a team, is to synergize. Everybody is one moving part or several moving parts, and all these moving parts working together, in a perfectly synchronized fashion, a well-oiled machine, if you will. And that is the sixth habit, is that they really try to synergize. The last habit of effective people is the author calls it sharpening the saw. And this just means that you need to focus on renewing yourself, along the lines of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects, So that just means that you need to put things in place, times in place, activities in place that allows you to be renewed, because you need that. Reading a book, for example, sharpens your mind. Learning a new language sharpens your mind. Doing therapy, helps you, manage your emotions. Making sure that you are 100% emotionally. Or just dealing with your family members or friends in a way that helps everybody to be on the same page in terms of emotions, and that's good. That's truly good. Or physically, like exercise, making sure that your body's in good shape, because if you want to be a truly effective person, you can't exactly be effective if you even struggle just to stand up. My goodness, get it together. And then obviously spiritually, if you are aligned spiritually, it means that your principles will still be solid. And remember, this whole book is principle based. It's based on principles. So if you align your life with the principles that you've chosen, these are the things that I believe in, these are my virtues, then your spirituality needs to play a huge role in that. And the more you develop your spirituality, the more in tune you can become with everything else as well. So that's the last habit, is that you're constantly improving. That's the improvement aspect of this whole book, And then, like I said, this is now the third point of the book. It has a principle-centered approach, right? And the author advocates for aligning one's life to timeless principles such as integrity, fairness, honesty, and human dignity. He emphasizes that personal and interpersonal effectiveness stems from living in harmony with these principles. And we agree. That's why when people break these things, when somebody is being shady or corrupt, or the integrity is in question, we shun that person. When someone is being unfair, we shy away from such a person. When somebody's a liar, is not honest, we criticize that heavily. So those are just all basic human principles. And when people overstep on those principles, it the alarms are sounding in our heads. And basically, for us to live effective lives, to be effective in the world, you have to align yourself with those principles. And I find that to be simple yet beautiful, and then obviously the book also gives us a lot of practical ways in which we can apply this. Each chapter literally says, here's what you need to do. practice this and you'll manage it, you know. And then the last one, yeah, it's just about criticism, that the book is widely praised and all that. But anyways, overall, the 7 habits of highly effective people remains a valuable resource for individuals seeking to enhance their effectiveness, lead more fulfilling lives, and build stronger relationships based on these timeless principles. So yeah, I love it. Definitely one of my absolute favorite books. Please do get yourself a copy of this book if you're somebody who feels that you don't have enough of an impact in your world. If you once you read that book, you're gonna see that it's actually so simple. You know, you just need to implement these habits, and you know you become that. And I would say review those habits constantly, every single day. How am I doing this? How? And you do that by a daily schedule, just saying. This daily schedule needs to cover all 7 of these habits, or at least my weekly schedule has to cover all 7 of these habits, for it to actually become a habit, But anyways, let's see how we're doing on time. We are quite far into it actually, but okay, it is what it is. Yeah, let's see. I think we've covered most of it actually. It's nice to end for the book. I really try to encourage reading. Everybody, please do read a book, man. Tell me what you're reading as well. Put it there in the comments. What are you currently reading? I really love to know. And if you're not reading anything, please do. Please just find a book and read it. It doesn't even matter what. Maybe you could go into the past few episodes, find a book there that I've reviewed, and because these are books that I highly recommend you to read, for personal development and for, just opening of the mind. I think, you need that. Anyways, but yeah, let me see what else has been going on in my head lately. What have I been thinking about? I've been thinking about the show actually, thinking of ways to develop it further. I've been trying to figure out different ways to market the channel as well for growth. But I urge you, please share the clips that I post. Share them, far and wide. Let's see how much support we can drum up, and it's just based on people's interest. I don't think anyone should force to watch or listen to the show. It's just if you want to, of course, you are the agent of changing your own life. You're the master of your fate. You're the captain of your soul, and you decide how things need to go, but yeah, let me just think. Let me end off with a little story. I'm just reminded of something now. I think when I was in grade 3, third grade, if you are an American viewer, and shout out to all the international viewers out there, the people from the UK. How's it going, mate? Oh, that's Australian actually. Damn it. Okay, anyways, the UK Americans and Brazilians that are listening, thank you for your support as well. But anyways, when I was in grade 3, right, we had recently moved into a new place, new city, and there was a bus system, and you'd have to pay a fee, and you get on the bus, you pay, and it takes you to where, one of the stops. So this was obviously a school run. Paid R7.50. I was given 15 Rand by my father, and he didn't explain anything to me, dude. I'm a kid, okay? He gives me 15 Rand. He says the bus costs R7.50. You take it and you go to school. Keep the receipt, And obviously I'm filling the blanks in my head. I'm like, wow, like this means I get R7.50 to spend on myself, So I spend the R7.50. The bus takes me to school. And I'm at the tuck shop. I'm buying sweets, just sweets, because I absolutely love sweets. I still have a bit of a sweet tooth, to be honest. But yeah, I enjoy that. Oh, it was so nice. And I'm still chewing bubble gum after school that I bought. And I get on the bus and I give the guy the receipt, because in my head, the receipt is what takes me back home. Turns out that R7.50 is a one-way trip, and the rest of the money you're supposed to use to take the bus again to get home. And that did not happen for me, man. I was so embarrassed. I felt like a total idiot. And basically what happened was, my parents were, at the time, they weren't super rich or anything. It's like, and moving is an expensive operation. Like they didn't have much available funds to spend on a child, an idiot child who just decided to take the bus and use the rest of his money on sweets, thinking that the receipt would be the ticket back home, you know. so so yeah, that's basically what happened. And my father had to walk from home to school. This was maybe 8 or 9 kilometers that he had to walk. This took him, almost 2 hours to get there. And he was not impressed with me. But I'm a little kid as well. And I'm pretty sure he was angry at himself because he did not explain anything to me. He's just like, here's the money, keep the receipt, and go to school, you know? And when I got that money, I was like, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you for this money. It's just like, wow, I can buy snacks. Oh, man, my dad was super upset, but I knew he couldn't do anything. He wasn't upset with me. I felt bad, though. I felt really bad. He had blisters on his feet from walking so far. But I guess, yeah, I wish he had just explained the whole situation to me. But I guess, yeah, that's just what you are as a kid. You're an idiot, and that's what all kids are, actually. Even the smart ones, they don't really know much, shame. I think being a kid just means that you're learning to talk, to be honest. And by the time you're grown up, by the time you're 18, then you're okay. Now I can think for myself. But before that, you shouldn't let anybody think for themselves. Gee whiz. Anyways, that's my story. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you haven't already, like I said, please like and subscribe. Follow us on Spotify as well. We do post there as well. As soon as the episode is up on YouTube, it'll be up on Spotify as well. And yeah, cheers to a new format, a new show, a new way of doing things with a new setup and everything. Yeah, be good to yourselves. You probably deserve it. Goodbye.